Peace, peace.
Yeah, baby.
Greetings to all. Currently creating. Let's give an honor to Source. Give an honor to all. Give an honor to everybody who's on this journey. Currently, trying to multitask. Bear with me. Be patient. These messages that are coming today, I'm telling y'all, this is gonna be ha ha ha. Got the wind chimes in the back. Ooh, I'm just gonna get no pain in my head, but anyway. This one is gonna be very vital. If you do hear the beautiful voice of a princess, then hey, you know. So I saw something via Facebook the other day. Or yeah, I believe it was on Facebook, and it was something called the 7, what they call toxic traits, family toxic traits. So y'all get ready. Give honor to the ancestors, known and unknown. Give honor to Source. Like I said, I get the multitasking. I get the trying to do so many things, but I feel like it's truly natural for a lot of us. So I'm painting, talking, reading. Like, don't ask me. It's just like it's natural. Don't ask me why, but I really do feel like this is just something that was gifted. Okay, the 7 toxic. I believe it's like called the 7 toxic family traits. And there was one that stuck out with me the most. Let me see. Which one was that? Y'all bear with me, patient.
This is you.
Yeah. Okay, so this one. Yep. Okay. So I'm gonna get right into it. Dang, what was this one specifically called? Okay, so I'm gonna read this one. Yeah. So one of the traits that it spoke about was oh my gosh, not to mention other things. Okay, so one of the topics, the toxic traits or distortion or dysfunctionality that we as people or all have been affected by this, and it says that one of the toxic traits is that you should tolerate harmful people because they are related to you. And I put, mental or emotional harm, abuse should not be pushed aside to tolerate people if someone has caused you harm without accountability, meaning that addressing the harm or hurt that they've caused or inflicted. And you are valid to, or validated, I believe, to do what is best for you to protect your mental, emotional, and I like to add on spiritual and physical well-being or energy. And I just add a little notes that I'll dive into soon. But again, like I feel like I'm gonna read that again. That is we have normalized or think that it's cool for us to just tolerate people who have caused us harm because they're either related, meaning blood related, and or socially, societally, if that's a word, or just again being all these things from our childhood. And the reason why this topic that I'm going to speak about is, again, and I'm not telling anyone what they should do, how they should go about it, respectfully, you have your own free will. But I'm speaking from my experiences and recent experiences that I've had. And what I've actually healing through, had healing from, and not to mention, even with the princess that's actually here with me, because I actually love when I do this, because I could look at it like she's a distraction, but in actuality, it's like I'm really just being my authentic self, honoring my inner child, protecting my inner child, and she's here to be a witness, or just be almost like a support system, unconsciously and consciously. So that being said, let me be the first to say that I had to learn this over a while now, because let me tell you something. When it comes to spiritual attacks, when it comes to we grown up in childhood where we have had people project their fears, project their insecurities. A lot of us have at the time become a victim of other subconscious fears and programming. Not to mention societally, through schools, through a lot of things. And in that process of that, I myself, growing up with a physical, verbal, abusive upbringing, and realizing now at the age of 33, how that has not only affected myself, my relationship with other people, but also how it has like pretty much have had a stronghold in the past on my relationships. Not only just relationship with others, but relationship with myself. I'm realizing now I'm still having healed and healing through from those same people. And this is not to point the finger at them, but I'm sure that in response, there are also, in the polarity of things, there's also people still healing from my conscious and unconscious behavior patterns, if that makes sense, in a way of like, being that I wasn't in a place of a holistic place or a healed place, I was unconsciously living out my subconscious fears through these relationships, through these abandonment issues, and projecting it onto, women and others who were, who I encountered. So getting to that, the subject on how, we should tolerate, because I've gotten to this place now within myself where I am, I told my spirit, I'm at a place now where I'm secure, like I'm going where I am received and celebrated, not tolerated. Now ask yourself, what does that actually mean? Think about even society in these environments that we have been in, where it seems you're being tolerated by being yourself, or you're tolerated yeah, baby. And it seems like you're being tolerated just because you're, again, trying to be something, or try to be, yourself in a world full of people who's inauthentic, who also have been in environments where they have been, their childhood they have been tolerated by others. Hey, baby, get this one up and take it in the room with the other ones, okay? So no one steps on it, all right? All right, love you. Appreciate you. So again, it's like having these experiences. When I get to the when I mean by tolerate, it's like, how could I give a description on this? It's like being somewhere where you're not appreciated or received or embraced, so you're tolerated. It's like they put up with whatever you're experiencing, And it's like they don't have to, but they choose to. So it's like choosing to tolerate or choosing to how can I say this? Choosing to be somewhere where you're not received, where you're not celebrated, where you're not appreciated, where you're not embraced with love. So it's like the opposite of that. You know, it's like, oh, I'm just going to deal with this just because this is my son or just because this is my daughter or this, you know, and it really, that word tolerate becomes burdensome. So it's like these people have treated those who they say they love through their distortion, through their shadow aspect, having not healed, they're treating them as if they're a burden to their experience, to their reality. And so from my experience, I realized again, having been in these environments where I was tolerated. And when I mean by tolerated, I was, you know, I wasn't received. I wasn't, you know, when I was creating or just simply being my authentic self or living out these shadow aspects of myself, I realized is that I was, you know, just there. And it's like even in these places when I was there, my childhood woundings or what I experienced was preyed upon. Because if I'm being tolerated and I'm not celebrated from, you know, my arts, my creations, or what I'm doing, no matter where I'm at, no matter what age I am, then obviously these people or these persons are just tolerating me. And I relate that a lot to even the school systems, to these environments, to a lot of these things. It's like, and I'm gonna get deep too, even as far as like when you're talking about the America, when you're talking about systematically, you're talking about environmentally, you're also talking about how everyone has been affected by this and how it has affected the youth, people into adulthood, a lot of things as such. And so it's like we've grown so codependent to where we tolerate ignorance, we tolerate the dysfunction, we even praise it. Let me see if I can change this lighting. So, and in reality, it's like we're not even being our true self, because it's like going to a place of work, going to these places where, again, it's like we're tolerated. We're not even accepted for, we're not even honored and celebrated for what we're putting in our energy, or some may call work, to what we're doing. So eventually you may portray this, you know, this image of everything is all good, but deep down you feel that you're not accepted by whatever environment that you're in. So eventually that will cause you to rebel. So this is where I'm diving in a little more deeper, to where being in these environments, growing up around this dysfunctionality, where, you know, it literally is a catalyst to prepare us. You know, if I speak from my experience on like how, you know, growing up in an abusive environment, growing up in physical, emotional abuse environments, I didn't realize how much I carried into my relationships until I actually had to come to that awareness that I had to be face to face with myself when I was in either isolation or when I was secluded from everybody, and all of these thoughts or all of these doubts or all of these things came up, because it didn't matter what relationship what I was in. Just imagine that, you know, and I'm just using certain people that from my experience that told you that you wasn't ish, that they hated you, or, you know, projected all these things, and these things grew in your mind. It's like, okay, you're my mother, or you're this person that say they love me, and now coming to that awareness, it's like, you know, all these things that mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually affected me, and my relationship with myself, my relationship with others, the women that I encountered, and these seeds that were still planted that I did not face, that I did not acknowledge at that time. What ended up happening is that these subconscious things will come to the forefront, and I didn't know how to address it. So I would stay in relationships. I would stay in things and literally tolerate the behavior. You see where I'm getting at? I tolerated. It's like it became normal. The dysfunctionality became normal, and not realizing how much I was affected by the seeds that were planted from the very first women, the very first men that were in my life, who I seen act out, literally like act out on this stage, because as a child you're little and you're seeing all these things. You're seeing through your lens, through your ears, through all these things, TV or whatever. You're seeing these people because they represent like actors in your life, and you're seeing them act out this dysfunctionality of what the distorted mother and father looked like, not what it was actually, you know, what the divine mother and divine father in, you know, embodied, or we didn't see that embodied. We didn't see that, you know, I wasn't embraced. You know, I didn't have a mother that was affectionate. I didn't have a mother, you know, again, and even speaking about that, when I had a grandmother and mother that was abusive. And what I mean by that, some people will justify a butt whooping. You know, I do not. Some people will justify that. Some people will say, oh, that's cool. That's how I became who I am. And in actuality, I think I've spoke about this in another video, is how like, when that where is that pain coming from when you inflicting that? Where is it coming from? And is it really coming from a place of love or rage or some type of emotions that you haven't assessed it or acknowledged or even realized subconsciously that this is something that was either passed on genetically or behavior pattern that you've agreed to contractually in a way of accepting, realizing that eventually it hurts you more, you know, as a guardian or a parent, where this is inflicted, and in reality, your mind is telling you that this is okay, but your body, and this is what's happened with a lot of us, our bodies, as we recover who we are and heal, we are coming to that self-realization, self-awareness of that this dysfunctionality was never normal. The emotional manipulation, the physical, mental, spiritual abuse that we went through, and how it took a toll on our body, how we carried it in our bodies from youth until now. And so now me speaking about this from my experience is to help others, you know, that you're wondering why this discomfort, this ease and uncomfortability in your body is from a lot of things, not just spiritually, but mentally, emotionally passed through not only the wounds, but also from physically, you know, from your own experiences. And just think about how much we have hoarded on and how uncomfortable it is to speak about these things, and now having the courage. And so again, when this pain is inflicted upon someone, and you're telling a child to just accept it, like, mommy, it's like looking up at her like, mommy, you hit me. Like, that hurt. And so it's like a little child or a little girl, and it's like, I thought you was the one that's supposed to protect me from this world or people hurting me. And so we get to this awareness now where I'm at now, and it's like, I'm actually healing from these people. And one of the greatest things is that I had to remove, or I had to allow the divine to remove me, uproot me out of these areas of this dysfunctionality, so I can really see clear, so the wool can be removed, so I can actually see myself, so I can actually see the wounded me internally, so I can acknowledge how to walk out and act out the heal me, or the innocent me that's always been there, which is like the inner child, your inner essence. So a lot of things we, again, from these very people who played a vital role it's very challenging and it can be very difficult to where now I'm trying to accept, one of the greatest things is like, as these things are removed, that we normalize in our mind. I normalize in my life, like, oh, this is cool. Someone speaking to me like this in a verbal abuse, cussing me out, talking down on me. And in reality, I'm like this seed. I'm gonna give you this visual. It's like I'm a seed. And someone, yeah. And it's like a plant. And plants are alive. Those of you plant mamas and dads, this plant is alive, and when you speak to it, it's like no difference in me. It's like you're speaking life. You're pouring life. So you speak life into someone, and just imagine us who haven't had that. We were in environments, men, women, we were in environments, and we were tolerated. We wasn't celebrated and honored in these environments. So, like, when you look at the Americas and you look at the focus on certain things and certain people, or just a people, it's you're talking about a foundation that is crumbling, and all these things are being removed because it's certain things here that have caused things to rotten. Like, if you put certain things here, and they're trying to push this narrative and all these things, again, it's not telling every individual how to be themselves, or how to love themselves, and how to honor themselves, and know that as you grow and as you're changing, you're growing again like a flower. So if you don't have environments where you feel safe, I'm healing from people that I realized at the age of 33, and having experienced these people, whether it be months ago, years ago, whatever. A lot of us have ignored the fact that, I ignored, or I was so naive to where it's like, oh, that's my mom, or that's my da-da-da-da-da. She's allowed to do that. No, she's not. Because once you create and co-create, a star seed or a child, a lot of people don't get to this place. Or it's not to say that people who haven't grown up around children, or, had that experience, they can, if it does resonate. If it doesn't, peace. Again, I'm speaking for those that, again, you're talking about environments where we haven't felt safe, whether it be in, not only the environments, but you're talking about dealing with police, when you're dealing with the news, when you're looking at just certain things that, as you gradually detach yourself from, it's like, whoa, this is the world I've been living in. So it's like that's when the escapism comes. You want to get away from these people because you want to get away to get more into yourself, to become more in tune with you. That's what a lot of the awakening is all about, is because a lot of us are assigned to bring forth something new, create a new narrative. The opposite of being tolerable, or we got to live here because, I got to do this because this is what life has given me. No, it hasn't. Because in that acceptance comes, the challenges and, the roadblocks in a way, but in a way that doesn't mean that you cannot detour, and, rejection is redirection. And so, and then aligning with people who see you because you have seen yourself and done the inner work. So again, I relate so much, and I'm sure others will, in a way of realizing that I have gotten to a place, and I express this to my partner, because I'm at a place now where whatever is removed, I've accepted. It's no more emotionally attached, because I had to cut cords or let go emotionally, because again, through these hurtful and harmful experiences, that it may not look externally that we've been hurt, but internally the wounds are there in that shadow. And then you are the light that sees, like, oh wow, the healing journey is a lifelong journey. It just, oh, I'm healed. Yeah, you're healed here, and then you go inward again, and there's still something. You know, imagine these things happening, then you gotta see these people, whether it be months, days, or years down the line. And where a lot of this comes is that when you are affected by this mentally and emotionally, and that has an effect on you spiritually and your physical, this this helps with, again, how you assess your relationship with yourself and come into union with self. And then you're realizing what it is to set healthy boundaries, because you have allowed these people to feel obligated to overstep the boundaries before. See, in that, then that's when, again, their shadow appears. The mask is removed, meaning that all the things that they can no longer hide or manipulate you with, or whether emotionally, mentally, these things are revealed. Because I was the one, I was expressing to my partner, like I was giving candy. You know, I was giving things after a beating, or it was certain things where I was yelled at and I didn't eat. And then, you know, how that can show up in your later on down years when you're a certain age is like you'll emotionally eat after, you know, a confrontation with someone, whether verbally or physically. You know, a lot of these things, again, when you see a lot of domestic violence, me seeing it, experiencing, and then realizing that I had to remove myself from this dysfunctionality. What was causing this? It's like if I'm a tree, or if my mind is a garden and these seeds have been planted, okay, well, where did these weeds come from? Meaning these weeds can be certain people that represent this dysfunctionality. This certain weed could be emotionally manipulated. This certain weed can be a narcissist. This certain weed can be, you know, somebody or something that preys on your wounding. This career, these things that, again, we're living out from our childhood woundings, realize not unconsciously until we become aware consciously that a lot of what we're doing is trying to live out our shadow, and in that dark place, trying to find a sense of power again. You know, trying to get back to that innocence. So in order for me to get back to that innocence, I have to remove myself from those who seek to try to project their guilt onto me. Because if I'm trying to recover my childhood innocence and trying to forgive myself for allowing this to go on so long, and then having to detour and remove and then even get into a place where I feel worthy of being others coming and entering my life, because in loving myself back from these these unhealed people or these wounded individuals, I have to try to not isolate myself so much, or do my best to not seclude myself to where I'm not, you know, realizing that I'm here to be a beacon of light, however that looks. And there's a balance, because if I want to do this, I don't necessarily have to be there physically. I can be here. So the process looks different for everyone. I expressed to my partner, like, it's certain things that even her and I went through with my mother, other people, that I am processing now. Some of us, we can no longer ignore that. There's things we're still processing, and in that processing, we're unlearning and relearning, you know, reteaching ourselves. It's like baby steps. The slate has been wiped clean, but it's like I'm crawling to love again, to myself, learning to love myself, reaffirming myself that I am beautiful, I am divine, I am empowered, I can do this. You know, I'm doing the very best I can. I am a good person, you know, because since I was young, due to what I've experienced and what I was affected by, a lot of which, even with, you know, again, it's like, if I don't see this, then how do I know that not to try to unconsciously project that onto, you know, my star seeds or the kids that I co-create with someone? Even every relationship with someone is completely different. I was getting this awareness. I experienced things with the mother that I came through. I experienced things with my father. I experienced a lot of things to where I had to parent or be a guardian for myself. You know, seeing these distorted ways, seeing these things play out, and in reality, coming to the self-realization like, oh my God, it's all been a lie, or it never was normal. But imagine a world or place that's trying to convince you that this is normal, and then doing your best not to. It's like you're losing yourself, and you're trying, like, what? You're telling me that I've learned all of this and none of it matters now? And in reality, it does, because had we not experienced it, then how would I have known now to approach it differently? See, that's the beauty of really standing in your power and not living in someone else's shadow, meaning in their shadow of, their own darkness. And it's easy. And what I've learned as I realize that healing from this aspect of myself is that I'm able to see the versions of other people who are wounded, who are projecting, who are easily running from themselves, who do not want to see, who do not want to change. So in reality, again, you're talking about environments, you're talking about a country, you're talking about places where a lot of us haven't felt safe. It's not just in the home. It's when you go out. It's when you see these things on YouTube and on Facebook or on these social medias, where it's like the programming in itself, the fear mongering, all these things sitting around to create an unsafe, not environment around you, but in you. So a lot of us feel that push, that catalyst, and your mission is to create a different narrative that is centered around loving self, honoring self, being there for self. Because the most important relationship is with you first. Because I had to learn that. The world has taught us do this for everyone else but ourselves. And you can see it on people's faces where they're going and doing something that they do not love at all. Oh, do this, and do this, and let other people treat you like this. Oh, no, you ain't got to do nothing back. Turn the other cheek, yada, yada, yada. It's so many things around that. But again, I'm here to let you know from my own experience is that a lot of things came up a lot dealing in even in partnerships with others, to where, I see similar things that, I'm able to just see like, wow, okay, they went through this. And a lot of things people ignore is that a lot of what they're wounded is rooted in most likely goes back to either their father and mother or some type of feminine, masculine energy, or not just energy, but persons or individuals who played a significant role in their life. And so in that, it's like, are we still connected to these people? And when I mean connected, it's not just physically. You don't have to see them physically. Have you acknowledged, accept, forgiving yourself for how long these things have went on? Have you let go of the emotional cord? Because over time, I had to learn this, and it took me, 32 years to actually let go of the emotional cord from my mother, because a lot of it was karmic. A lot of it was traumatic. Were there beautiful moments? Absolutely. But a lot of things that replayed in my mind, and a lot of things that I realized that replayed within me, had a lot to do with all those things subconsciously, what I dealt with, from whether being in her belly, coming out, all those things. Think about how the fact that these people haven't healed, they haven't acknowledged, and now we're the ones doing it. So in that acknowledgement, some of us can be looked at as a villain. Some of us can be cast out. Some of us can be attacked mentally, spiritually, physically, just because we're trying to recover fragmentations of ourselves that was preyed upon, that was devalued in so many ways. And so they don't know what that looked like, but unconsciously they're trying to seek it, whether, through their wounding. And so again, I had to let go. And I even told my mother this, and I expressed to her, when I knew that Aaliyah was arriving, my princess, there was something in me that I knew within myself. And it looks different for everyone. It's like I told her, I said, she will not be around this dysfunctionality. She will not be around, because you're talking about people, and this is not to make anyone look like a horrible person. It's just we all have free will, and a lot of, again, the accountability. This was the accountability on my part. If I'm healing, if I'm accepting these things, if I'm getting through this, then so can you. It may look different, but sometimes that looks, how that accountability is also acceptance and then moving forward. And there's a grieving process. I went through a grieving process, and a lot of stuff was coming up. I had to be with myself. A lot of stuff I wanted to ignore. And I had to realize that I was closing that chapter. I was karmically letting go of her mentally, emotionally, spiritually, because I knew that the arrival of Aaliyah was a part of the future, me building the bridge. See, a lot of what we don't realize is that the guardians that were assigned to us also had a responsibility to do the best that they could. Some did the best that they could with the tools they have, but also some consciously knew and didn't want to become better. So in that, they were still a bridge to us, but that bridge eventually collapsed. And what I mean by that, it collapsed because it was on a false foundation. It was a bridge that, again, some even lit a torch, burned, knowing that they couldn't swim across. So it's like they built these things, they built this bridge or this false narrative or this false foundation, knowing that someday it will crumble. And so during this transition of this happening, a lot of us are being initiated to be the new mothers and fathers who honor both feminine and masculine principles, because we are here to restore that. In restoring that, we are the ones that have to see the distorted way of the mother, the wounded mother and father, because they both played a part, whether matriarchal, whether patriarchal. So in a lot of this, again, I had to see the distortion in the wounded matriarchal, because a lot of what I grew up around was a lot of women. And so as a reflection of the divine masculine, I had to see the wounded masculine as well, because I saw first the women, again, the origins of everything beginning with mama, the divine mother. I had to see the distortion first within the mother. Then I saw the men who reenacted that through their own way. I was also a witness and also a victim and also one who inflicted that same distortion, that same act, reenacting that shadow. So now I had to acknowledge that I can express it. I can hold myself accountable, because when I look back at all of those people, and no judgment, I realized that one thing, like it speaks about, is that they tolerated a lot because they were tolerated. And not only that, they were affected mentally, emotionally, harm that was done to them, inflicted to them. So they continued it. But there's one thing out of all of it, all those generations up to now, and the same thing goes for you. There's one thing that all of them were running from: accountability. Let me say that again: freaking accountability. That means where accountability comes in, you no longer become the victim, you become the victor. You start to walk in victory. That means as you become a generational curse breaker and in taking accountability, that changed the whole narrative. That comes with people no longer projecting onto you. That comes with being relocating, removing, reassessing, realigning, recuperating, resting, resetting. See what I'm saying? So it's like a recycle, but you're not looping. See, these people are looping through shadow, hiding in the darkness, doing things until you were the beacon of light, until I myself was that light to be like, you know what? This is it right here. I'm taking accountability for my actions and stop blaming other people outside of me. I am the one that is taking accountability for, because as I written down, it says there are consequences for one's actions. The healing process, overstanding, trying to heal from the pain that was inflicted. And and in that, again, the accountability comes from, you know what, no one's going to change. I got to do this. Do you know what happens with that? That means these people have been looping through this for so long. They support the shadow. They support the wounded. They pour into the wounded, not realizing that whole foundation is rotten. It's done. Those timelines. Until it came to us who accepted accountability. And in accepting accountability means that accountability is seeing your light. I'm accountable for seeing my light and my darkness. I'm accountable for me first. What is it? What? Yes. What about taking care of me mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually? How does that look? Okay. I don't even know how that looks, but it's a process. Sometimes we don't know how it looks. That's the fear and the unknown for people who have been living in their darkness for so long and don't see the light. So for me to try to convince these people to see me, to actually take accountability when they've been doing this, been in this program, some 30, 40, 50, 60, and in some of the past ancestors, which I give honor to leading up to this moment, some of these people or some of these ones that passed on loved ones and that transition did not have that opportunity, or some didn't even have, a chance to be accountable, because a lot of us, or a lot of those who then wanted to stand in their own power, were not only ostracized, they were crucified, they were attacked, not just physically, spiritually. A lot of things that, again, when you step into this power and you enter and you rise up, you're talking about a whole, people, not all of them, coming against you. Oh, you're crazy. Oh, how are you going to do that? Oh, not to mention, they're not going to support you until probably you expand and really come into your own. And in actuality, the beauty of it is that it had to go down that way. It had to. I'm here to let you know, but that doesn't mean you do not set those boundaries. That doesn't mean that you don't be honest with yourself. Because that's the thing. When you're not honest with yourself, how do you expect other people to be honest with you? The energy you're giving out. And universal law is like, what you put out, you get. So think about these people who have been in this shadow aspect, in this karmic energy, having no idea what a dharmic path looked like. They're convinced that suffering, pain, agony, living in a lower nature and never rising above that. So when you do set these boundaries, no matter how it looks, of course, people are going to try desperately everything to try to intrude. And this is where the faith comes in. This is where you know that, okay, I'm secure within myself. Because in that, sometimes, Source will remove everything. The Most High will remove everything. So when you're in this position and you realize, you know what, I accept this. I'm no longer, I don't resonate with this environment no more. This doesn't resonate with me. That's what happens. Whether it be food, environment, people, all that. So with that, there's a shattering of illusion. Because not only is your illusion being shattered, not only you have to go do the shadow work, not only you have to go through this awakening, emotionally crying, all types of thoughts, suicide, just so many things that, again, that has been passed through so many generations and lineages. So you're having being the one that has to sit with this, that has to write it, that has to cry it out, that has to have sleepless nights, that has to go through homelessness, that has to be rejected by the ones who say they love you the most, whether it's mom, dad, grandma, anybody. Everything, you're stripped naked. Because I tell people, naked you come, and in a sense, it's like naked in spirit. Meaning that what am I attaching myself to that I realize that I don't already have first internally? So again, with these things that you know that Spirit gonna remove you from these people that don't accept accountability. You're not, why would you want to stay and be dragged through the mud or be dragged, constantly be attacked, knowing that this is a spiritual whooping only for you to be initiated. See, these spiritual attacks or what you went through was preparing you, was preparing the soul. You were already getting prepared for the people that will enter your life that reflect the opposite of the people who inflicted the pain. Now, Spirit, the Most High will replace people who are purposely, and this is my greatest challenge, who are purposely, this is what the Divine Mother is all about. Where she comes in and she take care of you beyond your needs. She comes in and mother those wounds, kiss those wounds, love on you, replace people in your life, whether it be your kids, whether it be strangers, whatever it is. It's all reflecting Source or the Divine Mother per se and Father. It's the energy you're relating to women and men who just want to pour into you. Because you think, we assume that our journey was in vain. It wasn't ever in vain. It's could you have the faith, no matter how much money you had, no matter where you are, no matter where you didn't know where your next meal coming from. And you having certain gifts or you having certain things, knowing that, you know what, because some people didn't make it out. Some people didn't make it through. But what sense if the storm doesn't come and the sun doesn't shine? Because even in your darkest moment, you're still a rainbow. Because even when you come out, can you be a rainbow when the storm clears? See, this is the thing. I'm going to leave y'all with it. See, the rainbow don't shine before the storm. I said, yes, the sun shines before the storm comes. But also, have you ever seen a rainbow before the storm? So the rainbow comes after the storm for a reason. So the beauty of all of that is that even after the storm, the sun just doesn't shine, but you've been watered, you've been cleansed. Because that storm or that rain needed to come for nourishment, to clear out things, because people don't realize storm comes to clear your path. See, some of us are in a storm. Some of us are trying to weather the storm. And some of us are rainbows for some people who are in the storm. Some of us are the sun. Some of us are certain aspects that represent which the oneness of all, that is all connected. Some of us are still playing a major part in someone's life. No matter who it is. Most importantly, the youth. See, you've gotten through things. You're too concerned about your mama and father or somebody else because you have that emotional core still there, that karmic core that you need to let go of, that you're still going to get through. You got this. But there are youth. There are the innocent ones who are awaiting your arrival, who will embrace you with a hug, who will tell you they love you and actually mean it because they come from a genuine place. See, the Divine Mother is that energy that she's taking her rightful place. And she's coming back with a vengeance and in a way of like coming to get and know who her children are. See, y'all talk about the father and forget about the mother. Mama is here now. And mama's coming back through people, energy that's fierce, that's a protector, that's a guardian, that will make sure, she's going to make sure that those who she has seen go through things that they did not deserve, but she knew that the Divine Mother was awaiting us. She was awaiting and knew that there was going to be your kids or certain people that will come that will embody this energy. And some of us had to go through the wounded. Some of us had to see the wounded mother and masculine women having to see the woundedness of your mother, your grandmother, and so forth. Having to see those who work with sorcery or certain things that, again, that they wanted to loop, but you were the one to shine the light. You are the healer. You still are the shadow worker. You are both now. See, they specifically work with one thing. See, you learn to be alchemized both. So no matter what has been thrown at you, us, men, women, we alchemize it. See, we alchemize that from, again, coming from the darkness and create it. See, a lot of you are the original creators, and through that, or co-creators, which, again, Mama is using you as a vessel. So know that you are divinely protected by these ancient mothers. And if anything, if that's the origin, I'm not concerned about men. I told my partner, I said, there's an energy that's returning. Let me tell you. People that are trying to think that they can come against certain people who carry a certain archetype or certain energy, spirits, or certain things that are divine. They just assume that they're not protected by something just because they see a smile, just because they just judge them by their career or what they have, and not realizing that no matter what you do and send at them, they easily it's going to be returned to sender, dispelled, deflected, and protected. See, I've learned that along this journey that a lot of things was simply just to prepare me for this moment. Because a lot of us are here to just be a bridge, and in being that bridge, that building a foundation upon truth, upon honesty, upon authenticity, upon love, upon rock and not sand. Now, it's the beauty of, again, you'll see why you had to make the necessary steps, why you had to do what you did, do what you did, in a sense. And see, we're all about to, a lot of us doing the inner work, about to receive that harvest, and that spiritual harvest, that abundant and prosperous harvest that, again, helps aid humanity, and not only individually, but also for those collectively in partnerships. So again, a lot of what I express, even going through with people, I always bring it back to myself. Like Elder showed me that it's like no matter what we want to point out to people, there's three fingers pointing back at you. So bring it back to you, because again, you're accountable for you first. You've been given the gifts, the tools, the necessary spiritual gifts or natural abilities to show up for you. You've been given this because you agreed to it. So take care of yourself. Peace and blessings. Shalom.